Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This is going to be an update video on my grandfather's 410 shotgun that got handed down to me. There are no sponsors to the channel right now. How you can help me out on this channel is just simply by hitting subscribe and commenting down below. If you want to help me out further, even more than that, you don't have to buy anything. No merch, no Patreon, no affiliate links. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. It will bring you to FF Lifestyle. If you're tired of gun content, maybe you want some fitness instruction, boarding sports, mountain biking, travel vlogs, conspiracy theories, watch reviews, and everything else, head over to that channel and diversify your subscription feed. We are over 500 subs right now and currently approaching 1,000 after we get 500 more. We have my grandfather's 410 back on the table with a few wonderful upgrades. What an incredible shotgun. I'm hoping I am making him proud up there with this series. If you have not seen this shotgun before on my channel, I will try to post a card somewhere, maybe up in the right-hand corner or wherever, about the first impressions video. I'm not going to go into how I got it, where this came from necessarily in depth in this video. All of that is in the first impressions video. Absolutely no way I was going to make any permanent modifications. But the beauty of shotguns is how easily, without any permanent modifications, you can completely change the look and really everything about the shotgun. And then with a few quick changes, barrel swaps, action arm swaps, or whatever, you have the ability to return it back to the original configuration, provided you're not drilling and tapping or anything like that. The barrels are not the easiest to find. Mossberg is notoriously poor at putting any of their extra parts actually in stock on their website. So for the most part, you're probably going to have to go towards the used end of things. I was able to find a Mossberg 500E, the defense barrels, which is basically a pinned barrel at 14 inches with this funky looking compensator. And that was originally what I wanted to go with. It would have been really cool because I think it was a interesting, good old usual Firearm Freedom mixture of modern and retro with the wood, but unfortunately I was not quick enough on that one, and the same person had just this standard 18.5-inch security barrel, and I think this looks equally as cool on this shotgun. And really the premise here is, again, kind of a miniature defensive shotgun of the retro style, but for me also a training shotgun, which we'll get into a little bit later in this video. And then really there were only a few other pieces in my mind that I wanted to get to make this complete. Of course, I wanted to switch to wood furniture. If you don't already know, all of the parts on the 500E are specific to the 500E. So you can't just get any Mossberg 500 furniture and slap it on here. It's just not going to work. You have a completely different size handguard, and then you also have a completely different size stock. Even the wrist of the stock is a completely different size. The bolt and screw, different size. So that's all things to be aware of. This had the synthetic furniture on it originally, and for anybody that's interested, it was an exact swap. There were no weird changes from synthetic to wood. That can happen a lot on normal 500s, but in this case, it was the same either or. The wood furniture, again, on the stock actually took the same bolt as the synthetic stock, and that is not at all usually the case. Usually the synthetic stock, because it can be bored out deeper down without any issues of integral strength, you'll find a much shorter bolt on the synthetic stocks. But in this case, the wood and the synthetic, they had the equally as the same distance of a bolt either side, and it was a very, very easy change. So that was pretty cool. I noticed that the length of pull on the wood stock is probably about a full inch longer than the synthetic stock, which must have been a youth stock, which makes sense because obviously, as I had mentioned, this was the shotgun that my grandfather trained us on and taught us how to shoot shotguns, so he probably opted for the youth stock. Wayne's Dog leather shell carrier on the side. Now this is nothing special. This is just an Amazon pickup. I think it was like around the 30 area, and it has actually been really, really good. You got a little bit of an excess of strap here, but I made it work. And you have like 4 or 5 little neoprene pads back there. Obviously, needless to say, that is not needed when it comes to 410 recoil, but you know what? Why not? Why not dampen down an already low recoil gun even more? I brought this back to the range. I actually did not get a chance to clean it. Not great. You guys remember me mentioning in the first impressions video that the little containing arm that contains your shot shells and your magazine tube, which is this piece like right there, if you guys can see that. If not, that's my bad. It was not in the proper position to hold the shells in place. And that can happen over time when it's gunked and needing to be cleaned, a whole plethora of issues. So what I actually did is I just got up in there with a flathead without even disassembling it and just kind of like pulled it out a little bit and bent it into the proper position. And it worked great. I didn't have any issues at the range anymore. No cycling problems, no ejecting live rounds, nothing like that. It was excellent. As far as how this thing ran at the range with the upgrades of the short barrel and the added length of pull and all those other things, this sucker is a fast little shotgun. Holy hell, this thing can run at the range, buddy. When it comes to reloads, that's still the issue. There were a few times where I was able to stack 2 in my hand and double load it. That was cool. It's too large of a hole down here to load it quickly. I really wish Mossberg figured out a way to tighten up this loading gate and almost make it the same size as the 410, because I think that would make it so nice and easy for loading, or if somebody made an adapter. But it's just, again, this is not typically a shotgun that's designed for like defensive use. So I get it. You're not going to be like speed reloading to get the next squirrel or rabbit. It is what it is. But I was really having a blast with this at the range. And ultimately, although this is set up for defensive use and could for sure be used for defensive use, this to me is my new training shotgun, man. The only downfall is the expense of 410s these days. But when it comes to just overall training on a pump gun, I see no better option than a 410. The only thing you're not going to have, and it's very similar to like a 22 semi-automatic when you're trying to train on a full-size AR, you're not going to have that same kind of like concussion developing recoil impulse that a 12 gauge is going to have. But with some spicier 410 loads, you are almost neck and neck, and you're still getting the same rack of the action projectiles going downrange, shot spread downrange, and also a harder time reloading. And that's where I think the biggest benefit is. With reloading this shotgun over and over again, my assumption is that as you transition back to 20 or 12 gauge, your reloads should be Superman fast. So that is something that I think is very beneficial of a 410. I'm gonna be honest with you, I shoot shotguns a lot. And man, as many hundreds of rounds, thousands of rounds that I have through shotguns, my shoulder still doesn't like it after a full range day, especially when we're looking at some buckshot, an SBS, or a pump action shotgun, or slugs. My shoulder is destroyed, and it's just not the most fun to do every single range day. But this sucker here, you could bring it out every day of the week and you're not going to be feeling it at all. And that, I think, is really, really cool, especially if you just wanted to have something for clay birds or small game, or really As a survival gun, I think the 410 shotgun is excellent. With the proper slugs, could you take out a deer? Probably. Is it ideal? Probably not, but you could definitely do it in a survival situation. You could also load up something else and have, again, just a variety of things being shot out of the shotgun. Now, would I prefer a 20 or 12 gauge? For sure. It's definitely very light, very packable, very tiny overall, and it's just kind of like a great little camp gun. The one downfall that I see to a 410, taking out the, of course, unbelievable significance that this shotgun has for me, if I was just saying, hey, you've never seen a 410 before and you're debating on getting one for defense, I would not recommend it. And the only reason is not necessarily the power, although yes, it is the power. But the main benefit that I see to a shotgun in 20 or 12 gauge is the sheer devastation happening downrange. Even with specific types of bird shot, it is devastating downrange at close quarters. Make no mistake about it, as much as I love shotguns, they're one of the most difficult guns to train with and perfect. It is unbelievably difficult to learn how to run a shotgun effectively and run it effectively under stress. Those downsides are offset by the devastation downrange. So you kind of have to outweigh how much time you're willing to give your shotgun training and practice versus, how much you need and want that devastating factor downrange. All of those things need to come into play. The problem that I see with the 410 shotgun is, although yes, a 410 is still very, very effective, let's be honest, it is nowhere near as devastating downrange as a 12 gauge load of buckshot. Is it going to get the job done? Abso-freaking-lutely. But again, when we're comparing apples to apples, obviously the 12 gauge is going to be far superior. But the problem is you still have equally as high of a training curve, if not more so, because of how difficult it is to reload this shotgun under stress. And now, although we have increased the training load, we have decreased the amount of effectiveness of that one singular round heading downrange versus the 12 gauge, where there is a very, very high likelihood that even one round of double-aught buckshot is definitely going to make somebody stop doing what they're doing immediately. So for those reasons, I would reserve the 410 specifically for more of a camp, small game, survival training shotgun than I would see it for any sort of like an extreme real-world use shotgun. But that being said, again, if you had to make it work, you could make it work. That is going to wrap up this update video on my grandfather's 410. If you guys have any other questions about this specific shotgun or anything else on my channel, please feel free to put them down below in the comment section, and I absolutely will get back to you. While you're down there, head up to the description for the ways to support the channel. And as always, stay tuned for more great videos coming soon.